expecting a record crowd at Memorial Stadium in Norman. And why not? It's number 1 against number 2. And it's been 13 years since we could say that. Back in '87, they were 1 and 2 coming into this one, too. Our partners, Bob Greasy and Bob, over the decade of the 90s, Nebraska with 3 national championships. And in the preseason rankings, they were everybody's number 1. The wild card, here's Oklahoma. They weren't supposed to be this good.
No question, the big surprise of the season is Oklahoma. Everybody asked, are they for real? Well, they've played a tougher schedule than Nebraska, beating Texas and Kansas State on the road. The big key question today is, can Josh Heupel and the high-scoring offense handle the pressure of that Nebraska defense?
And can the Cornhuskers handle the hype? We'll find out in Norman in a minute.
Welcome to the sideline of Owen Field. I'm Lynn Swan with 2 legends of the game, Coach Tom Osborne and Barry Switzer. This is the first time since this game has been of any great significance, and the two of you, the architects of this rivalry, have not been on the sidelines. Your thought about that?
Well, I think it's great that it's a big game again. I think Oklahoma's done a great job of coming back. And, of course, I think out of 29 years, 27 times the conference champion was in this game, and about 8 times the national champion. So it's been a big game.
Well, Coach, I'm going to ask you, what must the head coaches be thinking about this game right now?
Well, the preparation's already here. Monday through Friday, they're talking about the team that makes the fewest mistakes is going to win this. They go over all the football axioms. That's what it's going to be. They're ready to play. We bring out the best in them. They bring out the best in us. We're going to see a great game today.
Coaches, thank you very much. Enjoy the ball game. Brad?
Those are the legends. These are the new guys. Bob Stoops, only his 2nd year. He's never beaten Nebraska as a player or a coach. Frank Solich, longtime assistant to Tom Osborne, now in his 3rd season, and he's got this program right where he wants it. The 79th meeting of Oklahoma and Nebraska, and it's underway. Judd Davies picks up the short kick, and he got it out to about the 24-yard line. That's where Eric Crouch will go to work. 21-3 as a starter. He's already accounted for 20 touchdowns this year. A multi-purpose threat. He can throw it. He's maybe the best running back that the Cornhuskers have.
Tough and physical and just a playmaker both in the running game and the passing game.
And as if this game needed any extra hype, the Heisman Trophy may have to travel through here today with Crouch and Heupel. First down, Nebraska.
Checking off, first play of the game.
Straight ahead he goes, and a nice run across the 30. Dan Alexander picks up 7. As we take a look at our Chili starting lineups, here's the offensive front, and it's a dandy. Volk, Finotti, Raiola might be the best center in the country, Hochstein and Shaw. Willie Miller leads the way as the fullback. You've seen Dan Alexander carry. Wistrom's a dangerous tight end. Davison and Newcomb are the wide receivers. For Frank Solich in his 3rd season as head man at Nebraska. 2nd down and 3. On the option. Crouch will keep. First down and a lot more. Across the 40. And he's out to the 46-yard line. Pick up of 15 by Crouch. And that shows his running ability and, as Bob said, his toughness. Here's the Chili's front wall. They're undersized, but they're quick. The Corey crew, Heineke, Fisher, Klein, and Callens. The linebacking core is a good one. Stephen Marshall, Rocky Calmus is a Butkus candidate. And in the secondary, and they're improving week in and week out, Thompson, Thatcher's a big play man. Williams may be the best strong safety in the conference, and Derek Strait is the other corner. First down, Nebraska from the 46. Straight ahead and stood up immediately is Dan Alexander. Roger Steffen, the linebacker, is in on the hit.
The strength of this Oklahoma defense is the linebackers. The defensive line simply just takes up the offensive line's blocks. The defensive linebackers make all the tackles, make all the plays.
No gain on that one. 2nd down and 10 from the 46. High backfield behind Crouch on the keeper. Eric Crouch broke one tackle, but he won't get away from the next two. Kelmus is there. So is Torrance Marshall. A pickup of 2, and it's 3rd down and long.
Williams came up and missed the linebacker. Missed the tackle. But the linebackers are in this defense make all the plays. Kalmus is 20. Marshall is 10. Kalmus runs all the way across the formation to make the play.
They're the 2 leading tacklers coming in. And it's 3rd down and a long 7. Wistrom, the tight ends on the right side. From just outside the 48. And they go down the middle to the tight end, Wistrom, and it's a 1st down at the 39-yard line. There's his favorite target, Bob. Pick up a 13.
Here's the tight end right here. Wistrom is just going to go down. Watch the blitz from the top of the screen. The little corner blitz. He gets the ball off before the defensive back gets there. This is what Oklahoma wants to do, put Nebraska in 3rd and long situations. Big conversion there for Crouch.
And a 1st down, Cornhuskers at the Sooners 39. Crouch drops back off play action, wants it all, man wide open, got him, and it's Davison.
Touchdown.
Touchdown. 49 yards.
Frank Solich told us on this field yesterday, he got a little twinkle in his eye. Frank doesn't divulge a lot. But he did say something to the effect that we're going to go big and early in this game. Little play action, that's a power fake. Goes down the line, he comes back. Davison goes straight down the sideline. I don't know where Straight was headed, but he wasn't covering the receiver.
Josh Brown in for the point after, as Nebraska methodically moves down the field and takes a 7-0 lead. The top-ranked team in the country looking all the part in the first 3 minutes. A wide-open Matt Davison on the strike from Crouch for the touchdown. The running team goes 76 yards with 2 key passes, one a 39-yard touchdown catch by Matt Davison. And top-ranked Nebraska strikes first.
These are the 2 highest-scoring teams in the nation. You expect a few points to be scored.
Here's the kick. Antoine Savage picks it up, looking for an alley, and got out to the 25-yard line. That's where Oklahoma's offense will go to work with Josh Heupel, and what a road to Oklahoma he's had. He started at Weber State as a redshirt, then went to Snow Junior College in Utah. They ran an offense similar to BYU's. He was noticed by the Oklahoma coaches. Mike Leach brought him in here, the offensive coordinator, now the head coach at Texas Tech. And he's a rug rat and a gym rat. He's been around his dad a long time. His dad, a coach. And he shows it when he comes out on the field. He's been brilliant so far this year.
He was here in this program for 4 months last year and was named captain after only knowing his teammates for 4 months.
From the 25, Heupel had it batted in the air. Jeremy Slechta got a hand in the way. Our Chili's starting lineup in front of Josh Heupel to protect their left-handed quarterback, Romero, Duncan. Burcham is the leader there, a former walk-on, Skinner and Kempenick. The running backs and wide receivers, Seth Luttrell's the fullback, Little Quentin Griffin, all 5-6 of them the tail. Smith, the tight end, Savage and Woolfolk, the wide receivers, but many times we'll see 3 and 4 wide receiver groupings. And right now it's a shotgun with a 3 receiver group in there for Heupel. Here comes a blitz. Josh fires in out of the hands of his intended receiver, Trent Smith. And a penalty marker down. And Smith was bumped back there by Keo Craver. Flag flew in a little bit late. And it's a holding call against the Huskers.
Well, that happened downfield by the defensive backs. A lot of pressure from the front 7 all day long.
It's something that Heupel has handled extremely well. Against Kansas State, they hit him in the chin about 15 times, and he just kept getting up and throwing it again. That was their last game. They had an off week in preparation for this matchup with Nebraska. But right now, here early, they trail by a touchdown. First down by penalty. Here's an end around. Quan Savage. He got the corner. Savage, another first down. A pickup of close to 13. Erwin Sweeney knocked him out of bounds.
Oklahoma's had a week off, as you mentioned. A little opportunity to time up some plays that maybe were in the playbook that they haven't run lately, or to add some new things, some new wrinkles, run them early in the game, and get Nebraska thinking, especially their defensive coordinator, Craig Bohl.
That's his 4th time that Savage has carried it on an end around this year. He does have a touchdown on that play. First down at the 48. Quentin Griffin now flanking Josh Heupel in the shotgun. Heupel flushed from the pocket. He's going to keep it, and he paid the price. Nice hit by Randy Stella, the outside linebacker. He stayed home. The Nebraska defensive front, Kelsey, Lohr, Slechta, who's already made a big play, and Kyle Vanden Bosch is their emotional leader on that front wall. Shanley, Carlos Poca-Butka's candidate, and Randy Stella, who just made the last tackle. And the secondary looks like this. Craver, possibly on his way to an all-Big 12 performance. Booker, Walker, and Sweeney. Walker very versatile back there at safety for Craig Bohl in his first year as defensive coordinator at Nebraska after all those years with Charlie McBride. Second down, 11.
Here they come.
Heupel, plenty of time. Man open. Got him inside the 45. Curtis Fagan. It'll be about 2 yards short of the first down.
Nice job by the offensive line picking up the blitz.
Josh Heupel, he's got an arsenal to work with. A lot of weapons. Savage, Griffin, Norman, Woolfolk, and what they've done so far this year coming into this game.
He actually has 5 receivers that they rotate in. 4 of the 5 are sophomores. The other is just a junior, so a lot of good talent that's being redshirted this year also.
Third down and 2. Trying to keep their opening march alive of the Sooners at the Cornhusker 44. Pressure coming, pass incomplete, intended for Woolfolk, who had a half step. But the pass too far in front, and Heupel's got to pick himself up from the 47-yard line.
Yeah, you can see the pressure.
Deion Booker got the heat on it.
Pressure up front, blitzing almost every play. 3rd and 2, pressure comes. You know, I like that. You know, if I were a quarterback, I would want the pressure coming, because what that gives me is single coverage in the secondary.
Just not quite enough time for Heupel that time. And here's a dangerous return man, Joe Walker, awaiting the punt from Jeff Ferguson. This one sails out of bounds. Let's see where they're going to mark this.
It's going to be a good one.
They're going to stop inside the 10 at the 9. That's where Nebraska will go to work when we come back. They lead by 7. A lot of great players have played for these two teams. And our Aflac trivia question this week: who are the Heisman Trophy winners for the Cornhuskers and the Sooners? We'll have the answer a little bit later on. So Nebraska went 76 yards on its opening march. Crouch with a touchdown pass to Davison. They lead 7-0. Now they work from their own 9-yard line. On the keeper, Crouch goes down, a loss to 2. Let's check in with Swanee.
Brad, on the first drive, Nebraska scores a touchdown, which is something that hasn't happened too often against Oklahoma's defense, and one of their goals was to stop them. But in addition to that, what they did was they helped take the crowd a little bit out of the ball game. Even now with Nebraska backed up against its own goal line because of that successful first drive, this crowd, although still very loud, is still down a bit because they took something out of them.
They must have heard you. They're trying to take it up a notch on 2nd and 12 for the defense. Miller, the fullback, and he's into the secondary. Willie Miller across the 40 all the way out to midfield. Roy Williams ran him down, or he may have gone all the way.
Williams is the fullback, one of the most unlikely carriers, especially out of his own end zone. Watch as he's going to run by. One of the linebackers is going to run right by Williams. Watch this. Right there, that's Thomas, number 20, that runs right by him. The fullbacks have always been a big part of this Nebraska offense.
So Willie Miller goes 43 yards, the biggest play against the Oklahoma defense on the ground this year. First down at midfield. Crouch now, play action, drops to throw again. Wistrom's wide open on a crossing pattern. And it's another Nebraska first down inside the 40. And it's a pitch and catch to the tight end for 11.
You know, it's fun to call plays when your running game is working. Frank Solich is the guy calling the plays. Here he is right here. He's just going to go across the field. Play action first, holds the linebackers. Nobody's over there. Wide open.
Nebraska, a big play team, Bob, and 39 times this year they've had 25 plus, including that Willie Miller run.
Yeah, and a lot of those have been passes, which you wouldn't think.
On first down, they'll try the fullback again. This time, a gain of 2. And Oklahoma's defense reeling a little bit, trying to settle in after that long romp by the Huskers. And, of course, Nebraska does it on the ground normally, always among the nation leaders in rushing. And here's what these guys have done. Their ground attack and what they've averaged per rush. Pretty impressive. Everybody 6 yards or more.
The offensive line are the mules that carry this offense. There is no doubt about that.
Crouch will keep it. And he's free. Eric Crouch. Great speed. They aren't going to get him. Touchdown. 37 yards, Eric Crouch, and he got to the same corner that Davison scored from 4 minutes ago.
Watch Hochstein, the right guard, 55, comes out. He doesn't have to block anybody. Nice running there. Good moves by Crouch. Outstanding run.
Josh Brown in for the point after. Up and good. And a shot. Sold-out Memorial Stadium has seen Nebraska take it down the field twice in a hurry. Top-ranked Huskers 14. Oklahoma nothing. Bob Stoops, who's made his living as a defensive coordinator, now a head coach. Frank Solich, former fullback for the Huskers, and the pressure's on now, Robert.
There's no doubt about that. And Crouch, the big thing there is Oklahoma feels the pressure offensively now, not only to score points, but to keep the ball and keep it away from Nebraska.
Out to about the 24-yard line. That's where they'll work. Antoine Savage on the kick return. A college football on ABC Sports brought to you by Ford F-Series. The best-selling trucks are built Ford tough. Chili's. I want my Chili's baby back ribs only at Chili's. MSN, everything you need to feel at home on the web, all in one place. And Coors Light, proud partner of the John Wayne Cancer Institute and their search for cure. That's the world's largest touring grill, 65 feet long. They can put 2,500 brats through that baby in an hour.
Yeah, it was a little bit too early this morning, though, partner.
Yeah, we got up in the dark. Stadium lights were on.
I wasn't leaving the hotel until the sun came up.
We've got a rule against that. From the 25, first down, Oklahoma. This is their first run of the game. Quentin Griffin, about 2. Jason Loren on the tackle. So Oklahoma now trailing by 2 touchdowns.
Well, what Oklahoma needs to do basically is just make some first downs, stay on the field, calm down, help their defense. By staying on the field, running some plays, you're going to help the defense. You got to take it when you got it, but when the pressure comes, and it's going to come from Nebraska with a blitz, you got to hit, you got to make plays. Single coverage on the outside, both sides.
Second down and 8.
Here it comes.
There's out of the flat an open receiver, but incomplete. Savage.
Yeah, just a poor throw by Josh Heupel. We mentioned early on about the pressure. These two teams have not played in the last 2 years. Josh Heupel just came over to Oklahoma last year, so that's a poor throw.
Yeah, it is.
Nose was down, poor release. Heupel's never played in Nebraska. He doesn't know about this series.
He's flattened out early. He's 1 for 4. Third down and 8. The Sooners down a couple of early touchdowns. Maybe a blitz coming from the secondary. They back out of it. Heupel fires across the middle. This time he's got his man Savage shot to the 45-yard line. First down, Oklahoma.
That's what they need to do.
On 3rd and 8, they got 18.
That's a big first down. Everybody on the Oklahoma side is breathing a little easier. Just a curl. the defense is going to drop back in zone coverage. There's a big hole right here. Big lane to throw. Nice execution. Not panicking. Nice job, Oklahoma.
This time a good follow-through by Heupel to put it right on the number. First down across the 45. All three wideouts down to the bottom of your screen. And Heupel's going to roll that way. Josh throws off his back foot. Still got it there. Complete. Very close to another first down. He might have it. So Woolfolk in front of Erwin Sweeney, the cornerback.
Mark Mangione, the offensive coordinator, calling pass plays on first down. They'll throw it any time. Three wide receivers. Look from behind. Good pass protection. Little roll to his left. Greg Bowl, the defensive coordinator, said he's so tough rolling to his left. Looks like that was a clean catch.
They're going to bring the chain gang from the far side of the field. Josh Heupel this year in conference games has completed 70% of his passes. Did they get it by the nose of the football? Yes, they did, says John Laurie, our referee. There's the numbers on Josh Heupel in conference action. No interceptions so far. And 70% is pretty strong.
That's pretty good. He, in fact, leads the nation in the pass efficiency for all 6 games that he's played.
So first down inside the Huskers 45. 4 wideouts this time for Heupel.
That's a covey there.
Heupel's going to throw the deep out. It's incomplete. And somebody miscommunicated there. We communicate with Lynn Swan. Swanee?
Well, coming into this game, Coach Stoops had a bye, and the things he was concerned about, one of 3 things was that his team get physically and mentally prepared and rested for this ball game. This game is as much mental and emotional as it is physical, and I think what we've seen early on is that Oklahoma's made a couple of mistakes. Calmus running through the hole, not as sharp as they need to be, and in a ball game like this, even though they're behind by 14, you just have to stay after it mentally, and you can have a chance to come back.
A score on this drive would certainly change the complexion and the emotional state of the Sooners. Heupel across the middle. Tough catch, and a good one by Woolfolk. Down to the 31-yard line. Boy, he snared that one out of midair. A pickup of 12.
Well, whenever you have man coverage, you can throw some crossing routes and possibly get some big yardage. Here's Woolfolk over here. He's going to come across. These other guys are coming the other way to clear it out for him. Woolfolk, now he clears. Great throw right in front of him.
Bob Stoops was telling us that wide receivers, since I've been here, they go in the indoor facility, they catch tennis balls going about 100 miles an hour right in front of their face.
Never heard of that.
Never heard of that, but that looked like that drill helped the cause there. Here comes a safety blitz. Heupel throws. Woolfolk. It's down a hook and ladder. Is it Elvis Peacock all over? No, not quite. Ronaldo works. Bumped out of bounds.
Oh, Bob Stoops going back. He's seen some of those old tapes. Here it is. It's the old hook and ladder. You know, usually you pull this out late in the game as a desperation. I like this. I like this, Bob Stoops, you know.
The last guy to do it in a big game was our old buddy Dean Blevins playing quarterback.
Yeah.
Tell you what, if he'd have gone down the sideline, I'd have gone into my imitation of Keith Jackson. Second down and 4.
Have a little fun with your game, your team. Have a little fun with your offense.
At the 26-yard line. Heupel, they give him time. He's going deep. Got a man overshot. Antoine Savage, or he would have had a touchdown.
Just a tad bit. Nebraska's theory on defense is what we thought it would be. Put pressure on Heupel. Don't give him many opportunities to look around for very long. If you get there, knock him down, and tight coverage in the secondary. And all the completions, there has been a defensive back close by.
Great third down conversions leading the Big 12. Almost half the time they convert. They've got a 3rd and 4 here. Again, the Huskers black shirts come up close to the line. Here they come. Everybody coming. Heupel. Overshot his intended receiver, Trent Smith.
Nobody open. Josh is saying, hey, I'm drifting around back here. My line's doing a nice job picking up Polk and the other linebackers. and move around and find you get some time, and then nobody gets open. You guys got to get open. Let's go.
Oklahoma's got to get something out of this drive. They'll put it on the leg of Tim Duncan, who's 7 out of 12 on the season. His long this year is 40.
It's a big
They're
kick.
going to ask him for a bigger kick than that. 43.
Help us get started.
On the way. I think he's got it. And he tuck it in there. No. Just missed. Had plenty of distance. And he missed the kick.
That was close. And a big kick, momentum-wise, just to get... Stoops wanted that just to get us going.
It remains 14-0 Nebraska. With 5:26 remaining in the first quarter, it was a good-looking drive, but it stalled on third down.
Now the concern for Oklahoma is we haven't stopped Nebraska yet. In fact, they scored twice in 5 plays and touching down, and the second time, 5 plays again, and another touchdown.
And the last drive was 91 yards. And here's Buckhalter off the left side, and he goes out to the 33-yard line. Got about 7. Buckhalter and Alexander will trade off at that high back spot.
But look at the Dell Game Solutions, the offenses for both teams. Look at this. They're not out of it. They all scored a lot of points. Nebraska does theirs running. Oklahoma does theirs passing, but 2 of the top scoring teams in the nation averaging nearly 47 points a game.
On 2nd and 3, pitch to Buckhalter. And penalty markers down, and they have a holding call against Nebraska. Rocky Calmus made the stop. Now let's see if we've got our first penalty going against the Cornhuskers. John Laurie's our referee, and there's the holding call against Nebraska.
So we talked about this offensive line. This may be one of the best. Raiola, the center. Holstein, number 55, the right guard. I don't know if they call Raiola on that one or not, but this, they did, yeah. He got him hooked. Raiola is probably the best center in the nation. I mean, I was talking to Mel Tennifer, the offensive line coach, on the field yesterday. We were talking about a lot of things. He says he's the best, maybe one of the best I've ever had. They've had some pretty good centers in Nebraska. And this kid's only a junior.
Mike Stoops, the co-defensive coordinator for Oklahoma, echoed those sentiments. He says if there's a better center in the country than Raiola, I haven't seen him.
Tennifer said that he means as much to our offense as the quarterback.
Looked like a broken play, and Crouch goes down at the 24-yard line. Looked like he wanted to at least give a lead option there, and his running back went right in front of him. He had to eat it, and it's going to bring up a 3rd down and long.
Well, that along with the previous play where they had the holding play are the only bad plays that Nebraska have had.
That's right.
So far.
So with 4 minutes left in the quarter, and there's the number 2 team in 3rd down conversions. They had a 3rd and long on their first drive and went to Wistrom, the tight end.
3-man line.
Crouch, straight drop, play action, fires complete to Davison, and they've got another 3rd and long converted. They're all the way out to the 40-yard line.
It's just a 3-man line, and all they're doing is just running curls down the field for first down. There you see out here, you just go to run down. Watch the huge hole that's found over there on this side. Look at that, wide open. Look how wide open this receiver is. Easy completion. Crouch now, 4-4 on the day, 78 yards.
How about that? We call him a sneaky passer. Yeah. We talked about him this week. Here he is on the option keeper. Oh, boy, did he get pasted. He got hit actually by his own man.
Davies.
His fullback just let him have it. Now coming up Monday night, Steve McNair and the Tennessee Titans are atop the AFC Central. Now they take on Stephen Davis and the Washington Redskins, a power from the NFC East. Maybe it's a Super Bowl preview. Who knows? Monday Night Football, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on ABC. And don't forget, halftime Monday, you'll see just how this game and the others today affect the Bowl Championship Series standings. Because coming in, this is number 1 against number 2 in the BCS. They might have a rematch down the line of the Big 12 Championship. One of them, of course, may have a great crack at all the marbles in the Orange Bowl. Flags are down as Buckhalter is dropped at the line of scrimmage by Wilson Guest from the defensive line.
And Jeremy Wilson Guest, and there's a flag on the play.
and the officials talk it over.
Illegal motion. Offense. The penalty is declined. Down.
As they talk to Rocky Kalmus, they decline the penalty to bring up a 3rd down and long situation. And it's going to be about 8.5 yards to go to get a 1st and 10. And our 1st and 10 is presented by Samsung. The line is midfield. That's where they need to get. And now the fans trying to get up for their Sooner defense again. But 3rd and long has belonged to that man, Eric Crouch. Slip screen. Kalmus blew that up. Oh, what a play by Kalmus. He almost took that one right away from Bobby Newcomb.
Talk about somebody that's done some preparation and some scouting of the other team. Kalmus, number 20, right here at the top of the screen, plays off the block of Winston and almost picks that ball off.
If he takes that away, he's gone 40 yards for a touchdown. As it is, he forces Haydenfeld to punt. And J.T. Thatcher is a guy that can take it to the other end zone. He waits inside his own 20. High snap. Haydenfeld handles it. Wobbly kick. Thatcher waves everybody off, and he'll take the fair catch at the 25-yard line. So that's where the Sooners take over, trailing by 2 touchdowns. Well, earlier we asked you our Aflac trivia question. Who are the Heisman Trophy winners for Nebraska and Oklahoma? And we gave you time to think it over. Here's your answer. Jolly Rogers and Mike Rozier for Nebraska. Billy Sims, Steve Owens, and Grease's buddy, Billy Vessel, started it all off in 52.
I had lunch with Billy on Monday, and he walked into the lunchroom, and he was a little nervous, although he did have his fingers up in the air as if we're number 2 now. But he says, I haven't been this nervous in a long time.
Billy, the All-American, over 1,000 yards in that 52 season. Here's Quentin Griffin just trying to get a yard, and he can't. As the running game has improved for Oklahoma dramatically from a year ago, about 40 yards a game better anyway, but they're still not in that mix where they can do it both on the ground and in the air. You know they're going to throw it to win it. And if you just joined us and you see the 14-0 score, trust me, this is the kind of offense that makes you not want to go out and clean the leaves out of the gutter. It's far from over.
Who would want to do that anyway?
That's true. 2nd down and 10.
This drives you nuts. These guys up here, they're just poking around. You don't know whether they're coming or whether they're not.
Across the middle, find the open man, though. That's what can happen when you blitz. And out to the 44 goes Curtis Fagan. So the conditions were right for Heupel. He found his man, and it's a 1st down, Oklahoma.
But whenever you're ducking in and out, you don't know where the line. Here he's just going to come from this side over here and hold up right in the middle of the field, right there, wide open. Good shot, good throw, good play. The offensive line, when those guys get up there in the line, they don't know whether they're coming to count them and to block them or maybe not block.
Trent Smith, the tight end's in a slot on the right side. Here's a shovel pass, but well read by the Nebraska defense, and Jamie Burrow, the inside linebacker, drops him for a loss of 1.
Burrow is the backup middle linebacker who gets to play a few series a game in replace of Carlos Polk. Did a nice job there. The coach will be happy with that one.
Play comes in from the bench. Mark Mangino and Chuck Long have talked it over, and Josh Heupel now will try to execute on a 2nd down and 11, maybe the final play of the 1st quarter.
Here they come.
Blitz coming again. Heupel fires wide open, got his man across midfield. It's Luttrell, the fullback. He's got it to the 41-yard line. Great catch by Luttrell, the fullback, a pickup of 16. So that ends quarter number 1. From Norman, all Nebraska 14-0, but the Sooners have something going. ABC Sports presentation of college football will continue after this message and a word from our ABC station.
That's the end of the 1st quarter.
Eric Crouch has scored on the ground and through the air. 14-0 top-ranked Nebraska as we enter the 2nd quarter.
Star of the 1st quarter, no question, Eric Crouch.
Brad Nesler, Bob Greasy, and Lynn Swan and our ABC crew in Norman in front of 73,000. Their team's got something going right now, though. The Sooners have moved it down inside the 41-yard line. Josh Heupel's completed 8 balls to 5 different receivers so far.
Here he goes.
Here they come after him again. Quick read. He went over the middle. Carlos Polk almost intercepted that ball.
Yep. Pressure, though. He had to throw it. Got to get rid of it.
Here's how it's gone so far. On the opening drive, it was Crouch finding a wide-open Matt Davison who snuck in by the pylon on the near corner. Then Eric Crouch left a lot of guys in his wake, and he headed for that same corner and got there. The 2 touchdowns. That one run by Crouch, 37 yards, the second longest of the year against Oklahoma. Willie Miller, the fullback, had one for 43 to help set that score up. And here goes Heupel. He's going to do a little bit of Crouch. Keep it. Get what he can, and he got a lot more than he expected. Out of bounds at the 21-yard line.
You don't have to be pretty. You don't have to be an Eric Crouch. Just be able to run the ball, get downfield, and drive defensive coordinators nuts by being able to pick up first downs doing this. Defensive linebackers faked, moved around, everybody's covered, keeps it alive. That's all you need to do right there.
Chuck Long said he told Josh in the offseason, I'd like you about 5 pounds lighter, and he is, and he's 5 pounds quicker. First down. Works and Luttrell flanking Heupel.
Here they come.
Josh going to get rid of it in a hurry. Nobody over there. Incomplete. Joe Walker came with a heat that time from his safety spot.
And Bob, Brad, in that particular blitz, the receivers just aren't seeing the blitz coming. And you and I know, Bob, if the receivers and the quarterback don't see the blitz, the receivers aren't going to run a blitz control route. It'll take them too long to get open. That time, of course, Heupel sees it coming, but these guys are running routes that are just too long under those circumstances.
They had crossing routes that time, and there were a lot of guys in the same place right in the middle of the field.
3 wideouts to the top of your screen. Here comes a blitz from inside. Heupel has time now. Running out. Throws. Got a man open. Got him. Inside the 5 is Curtis Fagan. Fagan took a big hit, but he held on, and it's 1st and goal, Oklahoma.
The receiver is going to come in here, and then he's going to go downfield. But I want to show you something. Go ahead and roll it. Watch where he is when he starts to throw this ball. Right now, look, he's throwing the ball, and he's throwing it to this area. The receiver is right here. Look at this. He had to throw it and trust that the receiver would get there, and the defensive backs wouldn't. That's just a great throw.
It's 1st and goal inside the 2. The lone setback, Quentin Griffin, the little guy who Texas had a hard time finding all 5, 6 of them. They're going to give it to him, and he's going to score. Touchdown, Oklahoma. Sometimes it's hard to find a little guy. Tim Duncan for the point after. The lead is cut in half. Josh Heupel got him down close. Quentin Griffin found a little avenue to the end zone. 14-7. A 74-yard march for a touchdown to cut it to 14-7. And Bob Stoops told us yesterday, you know, we've been in 2 big games, Texas and then Kansas State. Nebraska has been there so many years before, but they haven't been there this year before. So his team fights back into contention in this one, and now they kick away to Joe Walker. Walker from the 2, Pollard at the 13. Great job on the special teams. Josh Norman got down there and got him clavicle high.
All of the special teams for Oklahoma have been outstanding this year. Going back to the head coach, all phases of the game have been good. Just good coverage.
So Oklahoma did what they wanted to do on their special teams. Back Crouch up inside his own 15. They have been unable to slow this guy down so far, though. Play fake by Crouch. Plenty of time. Deep middle. Tipped. Almost intercepted. Almost intercepted twice by Torrance Marshall. He hit it. He tipped it. It was tipped again, and he almost caught it. Would that have been big?
This was a huge play. Play action. Watch straight up the middle. Crouch is looking. He should have thrown it over. That's the problem with Eric Crouch. He is not an outstanding passer. That ball should have been lifted. You should have seen the play. You had nobody blocking your view. You had a wide open view. Eric Crouch does a lot of things good. He's just not a real refined passer.
First incompletion for Crouch. Now on the option pitch. Buckhalter broke one tackle, got out to about the 19. We quickly check in with John Saunders in New York. John?
Brad, it's time for the Burger King update. Tennessee against South Carolina. Derek Watson is going to muff this punt. Tad Golden will grab it. They have to rule it down at the 1 because you cannot advance a muff. But the next play, Travis Henry goes in for the touchdown. Tennessee leads it 7-0. Brad.
All right, John, here it's 14-7. Top-ranked Nebraska. They've got another third down situation. They've passed all 3 times so far on their third downs. They're going to take a timeout. Crouch didn't like the looks of things on a 3rd and 5. So he'll head to the sideline with 13-16 remaining in the first half. It's Nebraska 14, Oklahoma 7. You ever seen Tom Osborne in a silk shirt? 3rd down and 5. What do you think he's calling in his head right now?
For 25 years he made these calls and he loved it.
And now Frank Solich makes the call. 3rd and 5, their shortest 3rd down of the day so far. It's Crouch to throw. It's batted in the air. And Nebraska's going to have to give it up.
So that was a call from an option team. That was not a call from a passing team. You don't get away from the line of scrimmage very far, so you give the lineman an opportunity to bat it down. Fisher, the nose tackle, bats it down. If you were back further away, Fisher does a nice job of jumping up and knocking it down. Should have got him back in the pocket. Eric's been doing well throwing from the pocket, except that one throw that almost was picked off.
Behind Dan Haydenfeld. Gets the kick away, but Thatcher may have a shot at this one. Has to backpedal. Takes it at the 18. And he's going down at the 20. Great coverage by the special teams of Nebraska.
Stella, the linebacker, the starting linebacker.
College football on ABC Sports, brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. Burger King got the urge. Dell providing the infrastructure to power your e-business. And Little Nicky, starring Adam Sandler. We take you inside Switzer Center, all the Orange Bowl trophies, 12 victories and 16 goes. And then we're coming in today. Here's the statue of the seed sower. Somebody got a bunch of oranges and packed them in there, symbolic of the importance of this game.
That's not how many Orange Bowls they've been to in the past. That means they want to go to the next one.
In Miami, for all the marbles, January 3rd on ABC. Here's a swing pass out in the flat to Mackey. And Mackey's got it all the way out to the 36-yard line.
Is this a good throw? Not only did he have to throw it forward, but he had to throw it over some traffic between he and the receiver. 2 defensive guys are there. Sweetie, 16, is running with Fagan down the field. Nice play.
Perfectly thrown where he could catch it and keep moving, and Heupel is 10 out of 18 now. 6 different receivers he's used. And a first down for the Sooners at the 36-yard line. Antoine Savage, who really is one of their big play guys, limping off right now. You hate to see that in a game this big, or in any game for that matter. What Oklahoma does have, though, as we showed you earlier, is that arsenal for Heupel. We asked him, who's your favorite receiver? He says, I don't have one. I just go through my progressions, my reads. I go 1, 2, 3. Whoever's there gets it.
Yeah. And one of the reasons for the success of Oklahoma this year, not one starter or one reserve have missed any games because of injuries.
First down at the 36. Here comes a blitz. Heupel's going to go long. Got a man out there, almost making the catch. He did make the catch. At the 30 is Heupel. He one-handed it. Tipped in the air, and on his back, he grabs it. It's a 34-yard pickup.
Is there a circus around here? Come on. Single coverage. Sweeney 16 on the coverage. Doesn't know where the ball is, but when he sees Woolfolk look back, he looks back. Oh, nice job. Nice play.
Lynn Swan is in a red uniform.
Bob, Brad, that was Super Bowl 10. Deja vu. I've seen it before. He goes up in the air. The defensive back does everything he can to stop the play, but the receiver maintains focus and concentration on the ball. Tremendous.
Here's a quick opener to Griffin. He got about a yard, maybe 2.
You know, in big games like this, players make big plays.
Exactly.
And you need big plays because there's nothing easy on this field here today.
Antoine Savage, by the way, is checked back in. So shaken up a couple plays ago. He's not going to let the opportunity pass to play in this game, and he's back in the huddle. We approach 11 and a half minutes, 14-7. If you just joined us, Eric Crouch threw a touchdown pass and ran for one to spot Nebraska a 14-point cushion, but Heupel and the Sooners have battled back, and now they're inside.
Here they come.
Nebraska's 30-yard line, and they whistle the play dead.
Delay game. Offense. Replay second down.
So it's going to be second down and about 13 now. Coming up next on ABC Sports, we've got more great college football action for you, and this will be a beauty, too. Drew Brees home to take on Ohio State as they continue their quest for a Rose Bowl berth. Kansas State, Texas A&M, Tech and Clemson, Oregon, Arizona State's all here on ABC Sports, home of the Bowl Championship Series. Georgia Tech Clemson game's going to be a beauty in the ACC, too.
They got a pull from my Boilermakers, though. It's been 33 years since they've been to the Rose Bowl.
That's a long drought. Second down and 14. Heupel quickly over the middle, threw it behind Josh Norman, who couldn't make the catch.
He did. He threw it behind him. You throw 45 or 50 passes a game, you're going to have some missed throws, and that was one of them.
There's Mark Mangino, the offensive coordinator, calling the plays. Chuck Long, the former All-American great, number 2 in the Heisman balloting at Iowa, is the quarterback coach and helps with the pass game coordination. Those two work in sync, and now Josh Heupel's got a third down and 14. Even if they don't get all of this, they want to get a little bit more for their field goal kicker. Everybody coming again. Heupel going to loft it long, man out there. He's got him! Curtis Fagan, touchdown, Oklahoma! You can live by the blitz. Sometimes you can die by the blitz. 34-yard touchdown. Tim Duncan for the point after. Now the Fletcher hold. Snaps clean. The kick is up and good. We told you not to go clean the gutters. We've cleaned up the scoreboard. Tied at 14.
Josh Heupel, he knows he's a smart quarterback. He knows what he's got. He's got a blitz coming, and he knows he's got single coverage if he can just wait long enough. Now he needs to avoid this man right here to give this one enough time to get open. He throws it deep in front of him across the field. I can't say how nice a throw that is.
And this pass has been open all day. They've missed on it a couple of times, but number 12, Curtis Fagan's a sophomore. He's got the speed. He's behind the man, but Heupel leads him to that open territory. It's a pass that he throws a bit on faith and a bit on reading that defensive secondary, knowing that if he can hold on to the ball long enough, that receiver will be open in the end zone.
Curtis Fagan's second touchdown of the year, and Josh Heupel says, we're even, boys. Now we can start to play.
Yeah, that was a great throw. I mean, first of all, he knew he had one guy that was blitzing that was free. So I have to do something just to get my man enough time to get deep. And then he threw it way across the field, laid it out in front of him. Let him run under it.
Duncan's kick is a deep one. Joe Walker will bring it from 2 yards up in the end zone, and he's paced it again before he got to the 15. Seth Luttrell is down there. So's Jimmy Wilkerson. The quarterbacks we said would be huge. This might be a prelude to see who goes to the Downtown Athletic Club, and neither one of them is disappointing us. There's Crouch's numbers, and he's run for 55 yards and a touchdown. But Heupel, who started slow now, 192 yards. And the score a moment ago that tied it up.
Well, Nebraska and Crouch came out on fire and scored the first 2 possessions. The second possession going over 90 yards.
This is the third start for Nebraska inside their own 14 or worse. At one time they went 91 yards. This time Dan Alexander's met head-on by Jeremy Wilson Guest. 10.5 to go in the half. 14-14. Number 1 against number 2. The first 2 drives belonged to the Cornhuskers. It was near perfection. Crouch both throwing and running. But the last 2 drives, not much, and 2 punts. And now they face second down and 10 again. To about the 19 is Miller. A pickup of 5 for Willie, who went 43 earlier. As we said, the longest run against that OU defense this year. You can see now the mutual respect. These guys are getting up off the pile, looking at each other, clapping their hands.
All the excitement and all the talk and all the hoopla and all the hype and all the history and the tradition, that ended. Nebraska came out and was fired up. Now Oklahoma has answered.
Bob Stoops says emotion will last you 1 series. Then it's football. On the option keeper is Crouch. And Eric's very close to the first down. Roy Williams, the safety, got over there to help on the stop. And they're going to move the sticks. First down, Nebraska. So they pick up the first down at the 24. They're looking for another one at the 34. First and 10 presented by Pacific Life. On the 24-yard line, where Crouch just got it by about 2 feet. Full house backfield now. The power eye. And it's Eric Crouch to keep it again, and down he goes. Big hit by Corey Callens, along with Michael Thompson from the secondary.
This defensive line of Oklahoma is doing a nice job of sacrificing themselves. This offensive line for Nebraska, like I said, we mentioned, one of the best in the nation. May have 2 All-Americans on that line, and eventually, maybe 3 or 4 by the time they've graduated. But the defensive line is doing a nice job of getting in the gaps and allowing the linebackers to make the plays.
A one-gap team just try to plug in there and let the linebackers clean up. Second down, 11. Crouch wants to throw a screen. Fades it out there, incomplete, intended for the I-back Alexander, and the pass was not on the money.
Yeah, a passing team connects these things all the time, but when you don't work on them, and I'm sure they work on them a lot, but you just don't have the touch and the finesse in the field. Heck, if you're Eric Crouch and you're running the football and you're getting creamed by 300-pounders, your arm's sore, you know, you hurt your passing arm. That's most important for him are his legs.
They picked up some 3rd and longs today. They've got another here. 3rd down and 11. Tie game at 14 in the second quarter. Crouch play action. Here comes a blitz. He got around it. Man open across the middle, but he threw behind Davison. He sidestepped the rush nicely, but then throwing back across his body, nowhere near the intended receiver.
The bottom line, you get Nebraska in 3rd and long, and you're going to win the game. You're going to win the battle. You're going to win the first down. You're going to win the game.
Eric Crouch started the game 5 for 5. He's missed his last 4 pass attempts now. And Hayden Feld will have to punt. And they block it. And Oklahoma's got it inside the 5. Scooped up by Andre Wolfo. It was Josh Norman who blocked it.
mentioned that both teams were good on special teams. Look from this side over here. It's going to come from our right side, the kicker's right side. No, it didn't. Excuse me. Looked like it was, but he got from the inside.
Norman came from one side. Woolfolk's the guy that scooped it up. There's Norman laying out.
He got right up the middle.
And it's first and goal, Oklahoma at the Nebraska 4-yard line. They're going to have to hustle up to the line. Heupel on the give to Griffin. And Griffin got a couple. Randy Stella made the tackle. Just under 8 minutes in the half. Nebraska led 14-0, remember. Now it's Oklahoma with a tie game and looking for more.
Punting is one of the most critical plays in a game because it can turn a game around so quickly.
How many times have we seen it this year? Second and goal for the Sooners at the Nebraska 2. Luttrell, the fullback, is the lone setback. Heupel gives it to him, and he stumbles forward. He might have gotten a yard. Looked like he was going to be knocked down in the backfield.
Big
he
play.
Actually got forward to about the 1-yard line.
Big play by Carlos Polk to get penetration in the second in the backfield, and just blew up that whole play.
Quentin Griffin comes back in with a play from the Oklahoma bench. Remember, he scored earlier on a 1-yard touchdown run. He had 6 against Texas a couple of weeks ago. Third and goal. Oklahoma just outside the Nebraska 1-yard line. They have not led in this football game. And Griffin to the line of scrimmage, and that's about all. Nice job defensively by Troy Watchorn, the safety.
I think you kick it. If you're going to run any other play, you should have run it on second or third down. I don't know their offense that they like to run, but I think you should have gotten the quarterback outside the pocket, give him an option to throw the ball.
So they bring in Tim Duncan, who missed a field goal earlier from long range. This will be a chip shot, virtually an extra point attempt.
But whatever, if it's only 3 points, it's some kind of a victory for Nebraska.
It's kind of a tight angle for a left-footed kicker from that hash. It's a 19-yard field goal attempt to try to give the Sooners the lead. And he does. The special teams is what set up the 3 points and the Oklahoma lead. It was Josh Norman on that play that set up the Sooners close. Now they lead by 3. 17 straight Sooner points. 2 touchdowns and the field goal moments ago have given them the lead for the first time today, 17-14. And now Duncan set to kick away, and Newcomb and Walker away on the other end. Joe Walker, 2 yards deep, will take a knee. Nebraska will work from its own 20-yard line. First time in 13 years these two clubs have been 1-2 coming in. It was the Cornhuskers, as we look at our Courtyard by Marriott moment, in '87 with a top ranking, but it was also Charles Thompson in for the injured Jamel Holloway on the pitch to Patrick Collins. 65 yards later, it would give the Sooners a 14-7 lead. They went on to win 17-7. Barry Switzer called it his biggest win ever in this long-time series, and he did very well against Tom Osborne in the head-to-head matchups.
Did he?
In the last 50 years, either the Huskers or the Sooners have won 11 national titles. Both these teams have those kind of plans this year. Here's the end around on the pitch to Bobby Newcomb. Hit in the backfield, and down he goes. The guy that blew the play up, though, is Corey Heineke.
That's a slow developing play, and if you get any penetration up the middle, it blows it right up. Defense is upfield. Heineke does a nice job of containment. Good play defensively.
Heineke, one of those undersized defensemen, a junior, a local product out of Edmond, Oklahoma, about 45 minutes up the road apiece. Second down, 16. Prout, plenty of time. Wide open is Newcomb across the middle, but Kalmus has got him all wrapped up. They got 5 of it back, but it's still going to be 3rd down and 11.
Back in the pocket, behind the quarterback. See the huge opening there? Nice. Get him the ball. Kalmus drops back. Zone coverage. come up and make the tackle. Big play for Nebraska. The last 3 possessions, they punted the ball, and the last punt was blocked.
Third time it's been 3rd and 10 or more. Crouch blitz. Incomplete, intended for Wistra. Talmas came with the pressure again, and Nebraska's got to kick it away one more time. That's their second 3 and out.
The timing was off on the throw to Wistrom. Wistrom ran into the defensive back, didn't get off of the collision in time, and the ball was outside.
You can bet everybody on the front there is counting bodies and looking for Josh Norman right now. He blocked the last Heupel punt, and Norman's roaming behind that line. Finally gets in a track stance. This time Heupel gets it away. But Thatcher's got a shot at it from the 32. J.T. Thatcher got a block across the 45 to the 46-yard line.
Thatcher on the return up over the 45.
And it's going to be great field position for the OU offense, leading now. The BCS standings coming into the day. Nebraska on top, Oklahoma number 2, both undefeated. Virginia Tech, Miami, those two get together next week. Florida State play at NC State tonight, and they've got a date with Florida down the line.
The lower the points, the better in this standing.
Kind of like your golf game.
Yes, true. The lower the score, the better.
And right now, Nebraska came in a couple strokes better, but the clubs are in the hand of the Sooners now. 17 straight points. And Heupel back to throw again. Throws completed. What a nice hit in the open field by Joe Walker. Wow, he met right at the receiver, and a loss of 1.
Nebraska defensively had been going with a lot of pressure and a lot of man coverage in the secondary. They gotten burned, so with this, now they come out and start this drive and play a little zone, drop back in some coverage. Craig Bohl says, all right, let's mix it up a little bit more, which I think is a great strategy. You give a team the same stuff, they'll figure out a way to beat you.
Carlos Polk, the captain of that defense in the middle, looking at an OU offense with a 2nd and 11. Heupel across the middle, found his receiver inside, midfield and down, close to a first down is Curtis Fagan, who scored earlier on a touchdown pass.
Back to man coverage. Mark Mangione. Here's a receiver right over here. He's just going to come right across the field. Man coverage. Everybody's running with somebody. Right here, you see the he's way off of him. How far he is off of him. Good play.
At the 45. Let's see if they keep it on the ground on 3rd and 1. Nebraska may have jumped in the neutral zone. Might be a free play for Heupel. Deep for Savage. Another flag down, and Savage came down with the football. I think it's going to be 2 penalties on Nebraska and a catch inside the 10. I think they jumped offsides and interfered with the receiver, but we'll see what John Lowry says. If it's good, it's a 37-yard pass play.
Multiple foul against the defense. Offside. That penalty is declined. Pass interference on the defense. That penalty is declined. First down.
Cooler heads are prevailing on the Oklahoma side of the field right now. Here's Polk right here. He's just going to step offsides, and he doesn't get back in time right there.
And Antoine Savage running down the sideline. Look at the way he gathers himself, the focus, the concentration. A lot of receivers don't gather themselves, don't get themselves prepared to go up over the top. He did, makes a great play.
With a 3-point lead, Oklahoma's got it 1st and goal at the Nebraska 8-yard line. End around, Josh Norman. Norman, touchdown! They named the city after him for that score. Josh Norman, 8-yard touchdown on a nifty end around, perfectly timed, got good blocking, and now it's the Sooners. An extra point away from a 10-point lead. unanswered points in the last 11 and a half minutes.
Let's go back and take a look at Norman, number 3. He's going to come across the formation, take the handoff from his roommate, the quarterback. Norman was a running back. He is 6'2", 231 pounds. He knows how to run the ball when he has it in his hand.
Bob, when I was at Southern California, we had a play like that I used to run. We used to call it the duck play. They didn't want to call it the swan, so they called it the duck. Right now, I think Josh Norman is calling that play. Oklahoma is back in a big way.
I like the one where they named the town after him.
24-14, a 54-yard march in 4 plays. And in 11 minutes and 32 seconds, what a dramatic swing this football game has taken. Bobby Newcomb would like to change the complexion of it. He's the kind of guy that can, but it's Walker again. Will have to take it 4 yards in the end zone. And it'll be Nebraska at the 20, trailing now by 10 after we check in with John Saunders in New York.
Well, Brad, coming up on the MSN halftime report, we'll take a closer look at this game, number 1 against number 2, and also the Bowl Championship Series standings.
John, only one of these teams is going to make it to the national championship game. We're going to look at all the other top teams and show you what they've got to do to get to that Orange Bowl game.
It's all coming up on the MSN halftime report. Brad, back to you for the rest of the first half.
All right, guys, we look forward to it. This one has been everything we expected and then some. 2 minutes, 36 seconds remaining in the half. And after Nebraska just dominated the first quarter, it's been Oklahoma ever since. From the 20. They'll try it the old-fashioned way, and that doesn't work either. Buckholder got about a yard. Brendan Everidge from the secondary made the stop. 73,000 on hand at Memorial Stadium. We expect that this is a record crowd, as the number 1 team in the country now is the one in danger, not the number 2 team in the BCS, because the Sooners have answered the call, trailed by 14, and now lead by 10.
Nebraska came out like they were driving a Ferrari, and they blew a tire.
They did. Crouch trying to put some air back in it. But he's brought down after only about a 2-yard gain. Roger Stephan, the outside linebacker, held his ground, stayed home, and made the stop. The 2 quarterbacks, I think there's going to be 6 quarterbacks that will come down to the Heisman Trophy. It just seems that way, and these 2 guys are in the hunt. And their quarterback numbers so far, look at Heupel's first half, 238. Most of his passes got him close. And then they ran 2 in. He threw 1. Crouch has thrown 1 and run for 1. And now Eric's looking at 3rd and 8 again. Slip screen to Newcomb, and Newcomb dropped it.
Crouch looked unbeatable the first 2 drives, and since then he has not been on. He's just a little bit off. I don't know if he got hit, if he's dinged a little bit. That was the 7th drive for Nebraska. They scored on the first 2, and now they've had 5 straight punts.
And that's the 3rd time it's just plain 3 and out. I thought Newcomb should have caught that ball, but maybe it was too low. Haydenfeld has had 1 block today. It came from Josh Norman, who moments ago scored a touchdown. This time they've got the return on. Nice kick. J.T. Thatcher camps under it at the 21. Made the first man miss. Thatcher to about the 27, maybe the 28-yard line after a 57-yard punt. Coming up Monday Night Football. Should be a good one. Tennessee Titans. Steve McNair and company taking on the Washington Redskins, who are in the thick of things in the NFC East. That's at 9 o'clock Monday, 6 Pacific on ABC. And don't forget Sunday night, it's the Raiders taking on the San Diego Chargers on ESPN. And that should be a good game too. The Raiders back, and they even beat the Sports Illustrated jinx last week by winning. Frank Solich looking down at the list in front of him and wondering how to slow down number 14, Josh Heupel. Penalty markers fly in.
Substitution infraction, Oklahoma.
And Oklahoma is going to be called for the penalty on a substitution infraction. Somebody late coming in.
Usually that's 12 guys in the huddle. You send 12 guys out, and the coach wants to change something, and usually it's a coach sideline problem as much as it is a player problem.
Still one, Mike.
So that backs it up to the 22. Oklahoma has its full complement of timeouts, so we got 1:06 remaining in the half. Let's see if they play it close to the vest or they try to add something before intermission. They'll keep it on the ground. Griffin got about a yard. Jeremy Slechta made the tackle. Nebraska, the last 3 times they've gotten it, the last 4 possessions, I should say, punt, 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 and punts.
I think a combination of things changed after the first 2 possessions when Nebraska took it down for touchdowns. I think Oklahoma changed what they were doing a little bit in their defensive front, their secondary, and I think Nebraska was not as sharp the last 5 drives as they were the first 2.
As you saw that, 3 of those were 3 and out, so those are quick. Heupel throws a block for Griffin. Didn't get a first down, got to the 30. Not a bad block.
Yeah, but
14 stuck his shoulder.
But you don't want the franchise going down hitting defensive linemen either.
And he is limping around a little bit after that one.
I'm just concerned he may have gotten dinged in the head. You don't want your franchise going down there, boy, with those big numbers.
He walks slowly back to the huddle.
If you're going to hit anybody, hit a 15 or a
That's
20,
right.
not a 90 or a 95.
His dad is coaching at Northern State today, so couldn't make the game. A couple of times this year he has, including the Texas game. His dad, a Division II coach in South Dakota, which is where Josh came from, in Aberdeen. But his mom makes every game. She bought a new car last year. She put 48,000 miles on it just going to football games. And I saw her earlier today on profile on TV here locally. She's got that baby up to 62,000 miles now, just coming to Oklahoma.
I like Josh. And we got a freshman sister here that's a freshman.
Right.
I go to church with her on Sunday. We go out to lunch, and then I go back on Tuesday and pick up my
laundry. That's right.
I get my laundry bag.
Pretty happy to have his little sister here.
Yeah. I wonder if the sister says, "Are you really buying me lunch, or is this just to give me the laundry?"
Third down and 7.
This is where you don't want to make a mistake.
Not before halftime with a 10-point lead. So they keep it safe and on the ground. And out to the 31-yard line is it.
Smart call.
Randy Stella made the stop.
Don't help the other team. Make them do it themselves.
And Nebraska taking a timeout because they want a chance to at least touch a punt return with 14 seconds remaining. Well, the first half in this game, it was Eric Crouch to Matt Davison to open the scoring. Davison gets it in the end zone, and then Crouch does it on his own. 37-yard run after Willie Miller had gone 43 to set up that score. 14-0, but back came the Sooners. Griffin from a yard. Heupel deep to Fagan on a crossing pattern. And then it was the end around. Josh Norman, 8 yards, touchdown. You throw a field goal in there. It's Oklahoma 24, Nebraska 14. Bob Stoops, an unbelievable reclamation project in only his second year. He got up to speak in front of a lot of boosters last night at an event we were at. He got up and he said, "We thought we were going to do this. Maybe you didn't think it was going to happen this fast."
This soon. That's for sure. You know, this is not just putting it away here. This Newcomb has run back 6 kicks for touchdowns in his career.
Bobby has to wave everybody out of the way.
I wouldn't kick it.
Going to let it go.
I wouldn't kick it to him either.
And that took a long time. In fact, I think they're going to put some clock back on here if they can slow down the crowd. I guess they're not. I thought that thing rolled dead before the clock ran out, but the officials will let him head to the locker room. And after Nebraska dominated the first quarter, it was the Oklahoma Sooners that did likewise in the second stanza, led by Josh Heupel. And Bob Stoops is with Lynn Swan.
Coach, let me ask you this. You're down by 14 points.
We're up by 14.
But now you're up. But when you were down, what adjustments did you make?
We just settled down. We really didn't change anything defensively. We got in a rhythm. It started to recognize their plays. Some of the plays early, we're just out of position. We had guys unblocked, ran by the ball, settled down. We started making tackles. We're seeing their offense a little better. That's helped us. And offensively, we just come up with some big plays. We're protecting really well. And that's a factor.
Coach, thank you very much. Good luck in the second half.
They were 14 down. Now they're 10 up. The game of the century in the new millennium. They marched down to Owen Field a couple hours ago, and Eric Crouch and Nebraska dominated. But then the long left arm of the Oklahoma offense came to life. And the Sooners, with great players making great plays in big games, have stormed back to 24 unanswered points, and they lead by 10 at halftime. 24-14, number 2 Oklahoma leading number 1 Nebraska. Welcome back, everybody. Brad Nessler, Bob Greasy. Bob, you and I talked about it outside here a couple of minutes ago. It's like we've seen 2 separate ball games so far.
Nebraska won the first quarter 14-0, and then it was all over. You know, it just like the wave turned, and Oklahoma came back to 24 points. What do you do in the second half? Both teams say we got to go out and win the second half, and that's true. Nebraska's got to get back to what they were doing initially, and obviously Oklahoma says, hey, just keep tackling, running, tackling, throwing the football, picking up the blitz, and playing like we played in the second quarter.
As we take a look at our Morgan Stanley Dean Witter first half statistics, and they would bear out what you would expect in this ball game. 238 passing yards for Josh Heupel. And the running game for Nebraska, good but not great. And their third down conversions, they started strong, and then they faltered. And their average starting field position has not been great due to some nice special teams work, especially by the kick coverage unit of Oklahoma. Remember, Oklahoma won the toss at the beginning and deferred, so they're going to get the football first as well. And J.T. Thatcher is back waiting along with Antoine Savage on a line drive kick that will go out of the back of the end zone. And Oklahoma will work from the 20. Lynn Swan talked to Frank Solich just a moment ago.
Coach, in the first half, Eric seemed to be a little bit off. Is he okay?
Yeah, I think he's fine. You know, we started off well, Lynn, but we just didn't maintain that. And to their credit, Oklahoma stepped it up on both sides of the ball. Now it's our turn to step it up again. That's the way it's going to be. Is
it just a matter of stepping it up, or is there an adjustment in terms of how you're playing the game?
Well, certainly both teams are making adjustments here at halftime. We'll see how it goes, but we're going to try to get back to running what we do best. And defensively, we just got to go up and make the play and not let them have the big play like they've been getting.
Coach, thank you very much.
There's the big play they didn't want to give up, and it's on the first play of the third quarter.
And no sooner were the words out of Frank Solich's mouth that this play, the little swing pass. This is just good coaching at halftime, and it's a safe play to get started in the second half. I told you that Norman was a running back last year. They switched him over about the middle of the season, 231 pounds rolling.
From the shotgun. First down at the 35. Heupel across the middle, draped all over Savage. The defender, Juan Gross, but he still completed it in there. Pickup of about 3. Josh Heupel has been red hot. Started slow and then started to come on, and now he's hit 7 straight passes. Looking over his personnel as they head into the huddle. He's only got 1 touchdown pass, but that's a whole bunch of yardage to get him close for those 2 scoring runs they've had today. Here's the end around. They scored a touchdown on this earlier. Fagan. This time Nebraska's all over it defensively.
Vanden Bosch with a missed tackle. Tough angle for him, but the rest of the black shirts, as they call them in Nebraska, the defensive players, made that tackle. Romero, number 63, tries to cut Vanden Bosch, slows him up enough, pushes him back enough to allow his linebacker friends and DBs to get there.
A third down and 10. Nebraska needs a stop here to open up the third quarter defensively. Heupel in trouble, throws, almost intercepted. Woolfolk had a hand on it, but so did Erwin Sweeney. Nice play defensively by both the on-rushers and the defensive back, Sweeney, the junior out of Lincoln.
It's a good stop for Nebraska. They needed to come out and at least get a stop, get the football, and get something done positively on their offensive side.
And it's going to be a punt. They stopped them short enough to not let them even try a field goal. So Jeff Ferguson to kick. Dropped a couple already inside the 20. That's what he'll try to do here. High, lazy kick. and trying to make the catch. And it's a touchback. Ante Jones almost made an over-the-shoulder catch at the goal line. But it's going to be decent field position for Nebraska considering what they've had.
20-yard line.
Yeah.
Decent.
There's the group around Eric Crouch.
Well, this offense has been together a long time. 8 starters returned from last year's team. It's unlike their defense, but the offense has been carrying the defense most of the year.
First down at the 20. Let's see if they go to the ground game. Crouch will keep it. Cartwheeled by Rocky Kalmus. And Kalmus gets a pat on the helmet from one of the Nebraska players. He's played a good game.
Here's a look at Nebraska first half. This one right here was a block punt. So not only did you punt the ball 5 times, but you had a block punt after 2 touchdowns on the opening 2 drives.
In fact, since those opening 2 drives, the deepest penetration Nebraska's had is their own 41-yard line. That's not good. Crouch on 2nd and 8, keeps it, got a first down, got a bunch more. Out to the 40.
No question, the first 2 plays they come out, they want to get Eric Crouch back into the offense. He's talking to Solich the other day. He kind of went down the offensive system, and he said the first guy we want to get the ball to is Eric Crouch. And then we want to get it to Wistrom, and they've got a good offensive line, the I-backs, but the first guy is Eric Crouch.
So Nebraska has done this quarter what they wanted to do. Stop Oklahoma defensively, and now they've got something working with the offense. Crouch drops back in trouble. And down he goes, back at the 30. Torrance Marshall, the linebacker. First sack of the day.
First sack of the day. Marshall, right here. Going to take a look at the play action. Reads that it's not play. And right there, he's got it.
Nebraska will protect its quarterback because what they've done has been remarkable in the last month. They haven't given up a sack until right there. Now it's 2nd down and 19. And it's Crouch from the shotgun. Eric's in trouble again. Down he goes again. Callens made the first hit and Marshall cleaned up.
Oklahoma comes out with a little blitz on their mind. Here's Marshall right here, the middle linebacker. Deja vu, he's not going to get him, but he forces him out of the pocket. Oh, he does end up getting him. Get the second shot at him.
He flushed him, and Callens got a hand, and Marshall did the rest.
You're making Nebraska play left-handed when you put him in 2nd and long situations.
And now it's 3rd and long. 27 to go. Crouch straight drop. Sideline intercepted. Derek Strait. And Strait might go straight to the end zone. Touchdown. There's oranges flying on the field. 32-yard touchdown on the interception return by Derek Strait. Extra point. It's good.
This is not where Nebraska wants to be. This is not their comfort zone. 3rd and long, drop back passing. This is not what they like to do, and they don't do it very well.
They made no mistakes their first 2 drives, but since then, Nebraska has had an interception return for a touchdown, had a punt block that turned into a field goal, and Crouch has been sacked twice. And the guy that was victimized by Matt Davison for the first score of the day just became a hero. Derek Strait on a 32-yard interception return for a touchdown. And again, the deep kick, and Nebraska will work from the 20.
Well, you got Nebraska throwing 3rd and 27. They're just going to try and hit Newcomb on about a 10, 15-yard out. Got plenty of time to throw. But right there, the man underneath, he doesn't get the ball high enough, takes it back for a touchdown. This is not where Nebraska is comfort. This is not their comfort zone.
And normally they are a team that has tremendous field position. Out of their 9 possessions today, this is the 7th time they've worked from the 20 or further back. And now the crowd is deafening. Crouch on a pitch. Alexander. Strong run by Alexander, his best of the day, good for 9.
Don't expect to see any drop-back passing on first down when they're down by 17 points. They're going to do what they do best. That's all they know how to do, and the first play is an option.
And there's the first quarter that belonged to the Cornhuskers. Since then, almost nothing. 2 different games, as Bob and I said. 31 straight Sooner points. 2nd down a yard. Willie Miller might have gotten there. Had to get to the 30, and I think he got to the chalk mark. We'll check it while we remind you tonight, a special ABC Halloween event. Eddie Murphy in the network television premiere, Vampire in Brooklyn. That's tonight, 8 o'clock, 7 Central, here on ABC. Well, all the blood has been sucked out of Nebraska fans here in the last few minutes.
The Yankees and the Mets are finished, so the Vampires come in.
That's right. 3rd down and inches. Well, Nebraska's got to have this one.
Would they go for it on 4th down? I doubt it.
Pretty deep in their own territory. Crouch will try to do it himself. I'll tell you what, he didn't get much, but he got enough. He only needed less than a foot. I think he got about 2 feet. And they'll move the chains.
Yeah, you got to hand it to that defensive front for Oklahoma. Collins and Fisher, Klein, Heineke, and the linebackers, Marshall and Kalmus and Steffen, doing a great job against a pretty good offensive line, maybe one of the best in the country.
1st and 10, Nebraska. Crouch on the option, hit by Marshall again, a loss of a yard. Bob Stoops, longtime defensive coordinator, the head coach, and he knows how tough, though, it is to slow down this Cornhusker offense.
Offensively, there's no question Nebraska is very complicated and complex in their blocking schemes and the number of players that they use in their schemes. So not only are they physical and tough, you've got to be able to match wits with them and be in position on the ball. And then once you get there, you got to be able to tackle to complete the play.
Eric Crouch went over there with Bobby Newcomb, Tracy Wisterman, Matt Davison, all around Frank Solich before they trotted back to the huddle.
Got to hurry.
2nd and 12. Here's a screen to Newcomb. Bobby Newcomb dangerous in the open field. They close in on him, but he got out to the 38-yard line. Heineke pulls him down after a gain of 9.
Talking to the defensive coordinators, Mike Stoops and Brent Venables. There's Brent on the left.
Mike with the visor.
Mike with he's shouting some encouragement, I think.
You give him a mouthpiece, he'd go play. He doesn't even need pads.
They said yesterday Nebraska has an answer for everything. They do the same thing for so many years that everybody does the same thing against them. They have an answer for everything. Not today, not yet.
Power eye again. 3rd and 3. First down, Dan Alexander.
Nebraska is just struggling for first downs and not touchdowns.
You got to credit that OU defense. Mike Stoops and Brent Venables, who just showed on the sideline a minute ago, and those two guys, long time with Bill Snyder at Kansas State, of course, and put together tremendous defenses there. And then when Bob Stoops got the job here, brother Mike went along, so did Brent. Some of the folks in Manhattan haven't forgiven Brent for that because he was a great player there as well. But they're quite a tandem. I'd love to be in on their coaches' meetings. Straight give to Alexander, and he got close to the 45. This would be just what the doctor ordered for Nebraska now. If they could move it down the field here. They're starting to get their ground game, even though, as you said, it's little by little.
Yeah.
At least they're moving the chains.
Exactly, and they haven't done that. I mean, it's small victories here, just first downs, and Frank's aware of it. This defense is 6th in the nation in takeaways. They came in with 22. They picked one off for a touchdown a little earlier.
Got a pass look in there now, but it's the option. Crouch will keep it. Swarmed under.
Offensively, it didn't look pretty, and it was because all of the defense was down the line making plays. Yesterday, the defensive coordinator said, we got to keep our feet. Don't get knocked off your feet. There was nobody on the ground. Watch this, Marshall and Callens. There's no defensive guys off their feet.
And Bob, what I found really interesting is when they talked about defense and playing the wishbone and playing option, although it's very physical, it's really a matter of numbers. And it appears that Oklahoma's defense has got the right amount of people, and they're carrying out their assignment with great emotion.
3rd and 6 for Crouch. Wistrom in there with 3 wideouts. It's Newcomb with a diving catch, and I think he's got the first down.
That's going to be close.
And is it close enough to go on 4th if he didn't get it? The spot is critical, and they'll probably bring the chains out to look at this. And it is a first down. They don't have to bring the chains out.
That was close.
Nebraska has run only 3 plays in Oklahoma territory today. Remember, they scored from long distance on a couple of those. And until this drive, a couple plays ago, they had 148 yards rushing, but 80 of those came on 2 plays, remember. So it hasn't been easy. First down at the 48. Alexander to the 46, where Roy Williams met him. Williams, a good-looking, strong safety.
He's a hitter, and he's a strong safety, and he's unaccounted for in that play. He just comes up, and he's like another linebacker. Just gets in there and makes the play. This defense, Oklahoma, came into the game ranked 18th in the nation in total defense. So they're a pretty good outfit.
They are swarming. 11th play of the Nebraska drive, and they've still only gotten it to the 46-yard line of OU. Crouch play fake. Running for his life, throws incomplete. Wistrom, the intended receiver. Torrance Marshall, the middle linebacker again, was all over number 7.
Nobody open. Crouch did a nice job. There was nobody to find. Nobody open.
They found Wistrom early in the ball game, but obviously OU has figured that out. You see the 1st and 10 line is down at the 38-yard line. Our 1st and 10 presented by Pacific Life. And Nebraska, for the life of them, trying to keep this drive alive. On the option, Crouch hit, kept his balance, but went down. Roy Williams again.
Williams and Marshall, the middle linebacker, are having outstanding games.
Still a lot of football left. You got to play field position with 4.5 to go in the 3rd, even though you trail by 17.
38. Roy Williams.
He's had a great series. And now it's Haydenfeld set to punt. Remember, Haydenfeld had one blocked earlier by Josh Norman. That's Thatcher waiting the kick. High. Punt is going to go all the way to the end zone on the fly. So Oklahoma, their defense stiffens and holds Nebraska in place and keeps Eric Crouch in check. And it's 31-14 Sooners. With Bob Greasy and Lynn Swan, I'm Brad Nessler. Welcome back to Norman, Oklahoma, where the Sooners at home have scored 31 straight. And they lead 31-14 with 4:01 remaining 3rd quarter.
2 wide receivers, left and right.
Josh Heupel, who's been nothing short of brilliant again today. Quentin Griffin. And the little tailback takes it for about 3 yards. Jason Lohr in on the tackle, and there's the numbers on Josh Heupel today. Jason Lohr. And again, in the big game, still hasn't thrown an interception. The big games being the conference games. That's what Nebraska is looking for right now, is some way to come up with a turnover.
They're up there threatening.
They back out of this one a little bit. Heupel lofts one, and there is the interception. Troy Watchorn. Penalty markers down, but Watchorn's got his 5th pick of the year if the flag is not against Nebraska.
And I think it is going to be against Nebraska, not against Watchorn. He was the free safety coming over and made a play.
Pass interference on the offense. Whoa. Penalty is fine. First down.
There's the turnover the Huskers were looking for.
That could change the momentum of this ball game right there.
Watchorn not listed as a starter, but Bobby makes plays.
Number 42, this is his 5th interception of the year. Number 42 right there comes back and makes the play.
Just when we talked about Heupel not giving it up in conference games, Watchorn swipes one. And now the Cornhuskers inside the OU 40. Big play. Mark that one down with 3:22 to go, 3rd quarter. Here's the stretch, the handoff to Alexander. He's got a fight to get back to the line of scrimmage. Roy Williams made the tackle.
It's interesting to note that Nebraska has always been known for their I-backs. Alexander, and into this ball game, Crouch, the quarterback, and Miller, the fullback, are the 2 leading rushers. Alexander and Buckhalter, the 2 I-backs, are not 3rd and 4th as far as carrying the football.
2nd down and 10. Crouch can change a game in the bat of an eye. He's got that kind of speed. He drops to throw. Going to try to do it with his arm. Davison out of bounds. Made the catch, but he's out of bounds.
Well, again, this is where you want Nebraska. Throwing from the pocket, downfield, drop back. Got good protection. Just throws this ball too far to the outside.
Boy, that was close. He just couldn't get his right tail foot. And the other one already would landed out of bounds.
Only need 1 foot in college.
So here is the biggest 3rd down play of the day. Nebraska trying to get back in the game. The number 1 team in the country in both the rankings and the BCS poll.
I think this is a 4-down area. They don't make this and they go for it on 4th.
Newcomb in motion toward the ball. Crouch across the middle. Newcomb with a catch. And now do they go from the 34, which would be a 4th down and about 5, almost anyway.
Or it would be, what, a 50-yard field goal.
And that's asking quite a bit of Josh Brown.
Depends on how, if you got a good field goal kicker and you got confidence, or you go for it.
Well, Josh's longest this year is 40.
Yeah.
That might be asking for too much.
You're down by 17 points.
Timeout taken by Nebraska. They don't want to blow an opportunity with 2:04 remaining in the 3rd, trailing by 17. Fourth down coming up, and 5 to go for Nebraska. With 2:04 left in the 3rd quarter, this juncture is the play of the game. Crouch has got 3 wide receivers at his disposal. Throws incomplete. Way behind the intended receiver, Bobby Newcomb.
Lost his feet. He had single coverage. He got everything they wanted to. But Newcomb just slipped. He was down, went down, broke it in, and he was trying to come back out to the outside. Would have had it. Crouch threw it where he should have. Just slipped.
And Bob, you're right. He didn't plant the foot firmly. We were talking to Coach Stoops about this. This is rye grass. And he said when it's damp, it can be a little slippery. And I've tested it, and it is. If you do not plant your feet, you can't make a solid break.
Now the pressure on the Husker defense again. Oklahoma first down at its own 34-yard line. Heupel across the middle, completes it to Fagan, and a penalty marker down. We might have a roughing the passer penalty.
You do. It is.
Kyle Vandenbosch just Vandenboshed Heupel.
I think that's out of frustration.
Personal foul, rough pass there, 15 yards, the end of the run.
Vanden Bosch. Heupel saw him coming, knew he was coming, got rid of the football and turned his back, and Vanden Bosch hit him anyway. Heupel's a bright young man. Everything everything's under control with this kid. See, I know you're coming, but I'm going to get rid of the ball. As long as I don't have the ball, you can't hit me.
Josh Heupel was hit by Kansas State repeatedly. I said to him yesterday, I said, you know, you always seem to have a smile on your face. He said, when they blitz you and your receiver catches the ball and he's 18 yards downfield, that takes a little gas out of the defense. He says, I kind of like that.
Well, you know what he likes. He'd rather have him coming at him and blitzing him with 6 and 7 guys than rather dropping 8 guys in the secondary, because it's much easier to throw against single coverage in the secondary than it is throwing against 7 or 8 guys.
Josh says you can see a look in the defense's eyes when they blitz me, and it doesn't pay off. Here's a fake and an option to Griffin. Griffin on the left side all the way down to the 38-yard line. Erwin Sweeney knocked him out of bounds. So Oklahoma with the lead and the ball and moving the chains. College football on ABC Sports. Brought to you by Chevrolet. If only everything was as dependable as a Chevy. Chevy will be there. National Car Rental. So what are you waiting for? Let's go. Bud Light for the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down. Make it a Bud Light. And Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. Move your money. Get well connected. The countryside of Oklahoma. They'll probably fill that pasture up tonight with people if they win this football game. Second down, a yard. Heupel to throw for it. Across the middle. Beautiful play defensively by Joe Walker. Got the left hand out in front and knocked it away. And now it's a third down, Oklahoma.
So the interception by Heupel did not hurt Oklahoma. Turned it over on 4 downs, and now they've got the ball back and moving back down the field.
Seth Luttrell, the fullback, checks back in to the OU lineup. Carlos Polk and company looking for a stop. A long one on third down. They're going to bring the heat, and penalty markers.
Probably had movement in the line before the snap.
This one may go against Oklahoma's offensive line, I think.
Ball start offense, 5 yards. Replay, third down.
And that is the call. So that backs it up and makes it a much different situation. Third down and a long 6. Don't forget, near the conclusion of today's game, we'll select a Chevrolet player of the game from each team. Chevrolet makes a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund. Owen Field, Norman, Oklahoma, 73,000. Everybody's wearing red except Bob Swanee and I. Third down and 6. Nebraska needs a stop or a turnover again. Heupel to throw. Josh getting pressure, is going to do it on his own. Got it. Down to the 33-yard line on a first down scramble.
Nice job by Josh Heupel. He had 3 receivers over to the left side, covered by 3 defensive backs. But he sees they're covered. When he scrambles, he likes to move to his left. He's a left-hander. Everybody's covered except the quarterback, and he says, hey, I don't mind. I'll run for the first down and pick it up.
There's the numbers. Over 300 yards of total offense for Heupel.
He's rushed 3 times for 29 yards, and at least a couple of those that were for first downs.
At the 33-yard line, another first down. Final minute, third quarter. Heupel deep middle, in and out of the hands of the intended receiver. And that was Damian Mackey who got his hands on it and couldn't hold it. They haven't dropped many today. That's the 3rd time they've had one in their hands and been unable to hold it.
Well, you know, we have a little pass chart that we do on the quarterbacks, and we can show you where he throws the football. He's been very successful throwing the ball down the field. We'll show you that in a minute.
Well, he's in the hunt. Quick throw, complete out to Mackey. And Mackey's dropped for a pickup of only about a yard by Keo Craver. A nice play by the cornerback, a junior from Arlington, Texas. So third down and long situation for Heupel and company in the final half minute of the third quarter. so cool in the pocket.
We were supposed to have some bad weather. Some thunderstorms were forecast for today and this afternoon, but we've been fortunate so far.
So far, so good. Final play of the third. Heupel in trouble. They finally get to him and drop him back at the 40-yard line. Vanden Bosch is there, the guy who had the personal foul called on him, and Chris Kelsey, the defensive end, with the sack. And that may have taken him out of field goal range as well. That's the end of 3. ABC Sports presentation of college football will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations. We start the fourth quarter with Jeff Ferguson in punt formation as Oklahoma's got to give it up. That sack by the Nebraska defense to end the third quarter took away any possibility of a long field goal attempt. So now the dual return men, Newcomb and Walker, back there. They'd like to save this thing before it goes into the end zone. And they still have to call fair catch. And it reaches the end zone with a touchback. So Nebraska will have the football back. They are in dire need of points on this drive. They trail 31-14. Eric Crouch started the day 5 for 5. He's only hit 4 of his last 14. They need him now. They trail by 17 from their own 20-yard line of the Huskers. Crouch, late pitch. Newcomb tiptoes out of bounds at about the 28-yard line. We'll give him 8. In case you're wondering, the game of the century in 1971, Nebraska led 28-24 going into the final stanza. This time it's Oklahoma with the 17-point lead. They spotted the top-ranked team 14 points and then have settled in and scored the last 31. They've got a record crowd in a frenzy here. 75,989 is a new Memorial Stadium record crowd. Let's check in with Swanwick.
Well, Brad, the Oklahoma defense has been phenomenal. You mentioned earlier about Nebraska's offense going from far outside the red zone, and here's why. The defense didn't want them to get close because they're just so phenomenal. 92% coming into today's ball game. So the defense is really the story this afternoon because they have kept Nebraska out of that red zone where they're just so very good. A great game for the Oklahoma defense at this point.
Exactly right. They ran through the red zone a couple of times, but they haven't been in it. Third down and inches. Crouch leans forward and got the first down. So 14:09 is all that's left.
He surges over the 30-yard line for a first down.
The Huskers need a big play on offense pretty soon. They can't keep inching it along foot by foot. They'll run out of time. Next Saturday, ABC Sports has a full slate of college football. Some of you'll see Drew Henson and number 15 Michigan battle Northwestern. We'll be in Nebraska to see the Cornhuskers against Kansas, NC State, Maryland, or Arizona, Washington, Oregon, Washington State. The Pac-10. Check your local listings for the game in your area. First down, Nebraska. Crouch, quick drop, quick throw. Completes it across the 35 to John Gibson. A pickup of 5. Gibson's first catch of the day.
Single coverage. If the pass would have been a little bit higher, Gibson could have caught it and done something with it. But the ball was a little bit low, and he just had to go down and catch it and make sure he had onto it. But what you said a little earlier is true, Brad. If they don't get a big play, that means they better score on each of their possessions in this quarter because they're not going to get more than 3 or 4.
Davison, remember, caught a touchdown pass to open the score. Crouch, plenty of time. Throws, Davison's got it. And he spins to the 41-yard line. Matt Davison. A 22-yard pickup.
This is a nice pitch and catch here. Behind the defense, the offense will curl in. Davidson's got some speed if he could have shook the tackle.
Michael Thompson held on for dear life to stop him at the 42. Crouch trying to be heard over the deafening noise of the hometown crowd now. And on the option. He'll keep it. Only got to the 40, though. Rocky Kalmus is there to meet him again. Kalmus, the mild-mannered linebacker, and what a game he's had from nearby Jenks, Oklahoma, in Tulsa. And Rocky Kalmus is a quiet leader on this defense. He's made some huge plays, and Brent Venables, the co-defensive coordinator, says sometimes I watch where he's playing and I go, no, 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 yes. Yeah. He says he's just instinctive, and he knows how to play the game of football.
He's led him in tackles the last 2 years. Defensive captain.
Crouch on 2nd and 8's got an open field behind him now. Nice move inside the 30. Eric Crouch to the 25-yard line. Boy, in the open field, he has made some guys just stop and fall.
He's almost, you know, he doesn't have the feet of Michael Vick, but he is almost as good. I mean, watch him as he's coming down here. He's got to get no block on this defender right there. That was Kalmus, number 20. Rocky says, where did he go? I need some help here.
Down to the 25-yard line. We're under 12 minutes. 31-14. Oklahoma in front. A long give to the I-backs who have been struggling all day, and Buckhalter likewise got about 2.5.
They have just shut down the power running game of those I-backs.
Completely.
I think we had one big run by Miller, and that's been it.
That was straight up the gut. Willie Miller had that 43-yard run, the biggest one given up by an Oklahoma defense this year. Crouch had one for 37. That was the second longest allowed this year. And there you see Crouch is the leading rusher right now. They're going to need more from him. And now Nebraska brings out a whole new group, including Davison and Newcomb and Wistrom. So the pass offense is in there. We'll see if that's what they do. 2nd down and 7. Davison to the near side. Newcomb in a slot to the top of your screen. And Oklahoma will blitz. And a quick reads to Davison. Davison lost the ball. And Oklahoma's got it. Derek Strait with a hit. Brandon Everidge with a recovery.
Plenty of time. Ball's on target. Never had it cleanly. Strait knocks it out. Everidge, number 7, picks it up. And I'm beginning to go back to what everybody's been asking me all week. Is this Oklahoma team for real?
Yep.
I think it's been answered.
I think it has. And now Josh Heupel's got to call a timeout. A little confusion on the change of possession. He'll come to the sideline. We'll take a break. Don't go anywhere. 11:05 to play. Brad Nessler, Bob Greasy, Lynn Swan, and our ABC crew in Norman, Oklahoma, where the Sooners lead by 17 with 11 minutes, 5 seconds left to play. Heupel on a crossing route, in and out of the hands of the intended receiver. Nice play defensively by Dewan Gross to knock that ball loose.
Well, this offense for Oklahoma is pretty good, but let's go back and compare a little bit. 71, they called it the wishbone. In 2000, they call it the spread. Whichever way you look at it, 45 points, 47 points. Barry Switzer was the offensive coordinator back then.
Here's Heupel from the spread, throwing complete. Out of bounds. Bob Stoops knew when he came in here he wanted a certain kind of offense, Bob, and he's chosen the right one, I guess.
Well, he has, you know, and what he did, he was a defensive coordinator for all those years at Florida. And he said he played against Kentucky, and Kentucky had a good offense, scored a lot of points. Mike Leach, and he says, if I'm going to be a head coach, I'd go to Oklahoma. I want somebody. So he picked a bone off of the Kentucky staff, and that was Mike Leach, and says, come and bring that system here to me, and that's what he did.
And you saw Chuck Long in the middle of those assistant coaches. Great Iowa quarterback who's added his own little twist to things. And Heupel's going to go down. Jason Lohr, who played at the same high school as Rocky Kalmus, only now he's playing for Nebraska, and he's fired up, and they needed that play. So it's time for OU to give it up.
Well, again, we mentioned the fact that you got a very dangerous return guy in Newcomb receiving this punt.
Jeff Ferguson to kick. High snap. Here's the kick. Can Bobby Newcomb pull a Johnny Rodgers from the 30? Loses the ball. He covered it himself. I believe, anyway, he got back on it. He did. 54-yard punt. And some big heartbeats going on the Nebraska sideline as they barely held on to the ball. From the 32-yard line on offense are the Cornhuskers when we come back. Time permitting, stay tuned for the Thrifty Car Rental post-game report with John and Terry. They'll be in New York to update you on the other scores, highlights, look ahead to what we've got coming up in our doubleheader on ABC. The defense of Oklahoma has answered the challenge since the first quarter. Crouch on a keeper. Broke a tackle across the 40. Crouch out to midfield. Almost broke it open.
Thompson with a touchdown-saving tackle.
And Crouch gets up limping a little bit. Yep. He had that last leg that was being held onto at the end of that play.
This is a quarterback sweep. You see the offensive lineman out there throwing some blocks. Right here, if he just gets by that sandwich.
Watch that left plant leg, see?
Yeah.
That's why he got up. He's trying to shake it off. He's a tough cookie.
Oh, he's tough. He really is.
Over 100 yards rushing now. From midfield. Crouch to throw. Pump fakes. Going deep. Out of bounds. Bobby Newcomb. Let's check in with Swanee.
Thank you, Brad. I'm with Brian Bosworth, two-time All-American and two-time Butkus Award winner. Brian, what do you think of this defense, the way they're playing this ball game?
Well, I tell you, at the beginning of the game, it showed their inexperience in big games because they were playing on the edge. I think the coaches did a great job bringing them over to the sideline, telling them that the way to beat Nebraska is you got to be physical with them. You got to play right down the center of them, and that's what they've done. They've controlled the line of scrimmage.
Stoops' defense really lets the linebackers control, and Rocky Kalmus is a great leader for this club.
I tell you, they've got a lot of speed in the defensive secondary. They got a lot of speed in their linebacking core, and that's what enabled them to keep the down and distance in the Oklahoma Center's favor.
Are you surprised this team has done so well in such a short period of time?
In a short period of time, I am. I tell you, because these are really John Blake's players, and Coach Stoops has done a phenomenal job changing the offensive scheme, and it just shows the kind of character that Oklahoma has, and the Coach Stoops believes in the scheme and the players that he's got here.
Good times ahead, Brian.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The Boz, remember him? Two-time Butkus winner, now an actor on the sideline today with a lot of other All-Americans for the Sooners.
Still has the hair.
Still got the hair working. 3rd and 10 for Crouch. Got a man open. Davison thrown behind him. For a moment, he flashed free, but Thompson and Williams are there, and the pass is incomplete.
Yeah, this just doesn't look like it's going to be Nebraska's day. After the first two drives, Oklahoma has been everywhere and has had an answer for everything that Nebraska has thrown at them.
Time to punt for the Huskers. The 7th punt of the day. You got to go back a ways to find 7 Nebraska punts. Wide snap. Haydenfeld handled it, and he kicked it a mile. 8 yards deep in the end zone. So that'll come out to the 20. Rocky Kalmus and the defense of Oklahoma enjoying the day. A packed house and a 17-point Sooner lead. In 2 years, they've had great coaches. Bud Wilkinson, Barry Switzer, who went all the way to the 30th game before he lost. And now Bob Stoops at 13-5. And he's got his troops in front by 17 with 9.5 minutes to play. Biggest game in 13 years between these two clubs, and right now the Sooners own it. Heupel to Griffin on the handoff, and Griffin knocked off his feet after about a 3-yard gain as we check in with another great reclamation project in year 2. Lou Holtz in South Carolina. John?
Thought you were talking about me for a minute there, Brad. South Carolina against Tennessee on this Burger King update. Phil Petty to Ryan Brewer. 78 yards this one covers. as South Carolina grabs a 14-7 lead. It's in the fourth quarter. And congratulations to R.J. Bowers, now #1 all-time in all divisions rushing. Brad, back to you.
All right, R.J., that's a lot of yards. I don't care who you're running against. Here's Heupel on a keeper. Josh Heupel, first down. Slides out to the 34. Great fake. Nebraska certainly didn't anticipate
that's why
quarterback keeping it.
Exactly. That's why it was a good call. Just picking up first downs. Oklahoma doesn't need any points. They just need some time off the clock. He knew he couldn't get anything outside. His only chance was back inside. And his big guard, 68, that's Duncan. He thought he was going outside with it.
Josh Heupel's done it with both his arms and his legs today. And he's got another first down for his team at the 35-yard line. Now it's Griffin, and he's stopped at the line of scrimmage. Now to 8 minutes left to play. Don't forget Monday Night Football. Tennessee Titans on a roll with Steve McNair and Eddie George and company. They'll take on the Washington Redskins. Big AFC-NFC matchup Monday night at 9, 6 Pacific on ABC. And don't forget, at halftime Monday, you can see just how this game and the other ones today have affected the Bowl Championship Series standings. I tell you one thing, if this one stays the way it is, no matter what poll you look at, it's going to have an OU #1 in front of it. Here's the give to Griffin. And again, they stop him.
There won't be anybody asking, is Oklahoma for real? And who are these guys?
Josh Heupel, his dad Randy, who, as we mentioned earlier, is coaching today, and we said, is he going to look in, because Randy's game didn't start till 1:30 Central Time. He said nope, he's taping it, and he won't want to see anything until his game's over.
Bobby Stoops came over, moved a lot of these guys to different positions. He moved some of the offense to defense and vice versa. Want some new players in.
Heupel, not a keeper. Mentioned Josh's dad's name is Ken. Ken's a coach at Northern State. And Lord didn't get much, and it's going to force a punt.
A lot of Heupel's throws have been deep down the field, over 125 yards. Some big plays down there, a touchdown and an interception. But with the pressure that Nebraska was putting on him early on in the second quarter, he just threw the ball deep downfield and made some great throws.
Ferguson to punt. They ran about 3 minutes off the clock before they had to give it up. Nebraska in desperate need of a big play. Trying to get a block kick and a flag down. They tried to go after Ferguson, and it didn't pay off. Keogh Craver hit the punter.
Nebraska, the pressure was on him. He had to try something, and it didn't work.
And it's roughing the punter, too. It was 6 yards to go, and here's another look.
Coming from the right side. Looked like the punter kicked that ball to the left. The ball took off left. And Craver, that's what you call a textbook picture of roughing the punter.
So instead of Nebraska having their hands on it, it's Oklahoma's ball, and it's in Nebraska territory. They took a shot to try to block the kick, and it backfires, and OU takes over. Heupel, the undisputed leader of this football team, brings out his troops to the 47-yard line. They fake the end around, play action. Josh Heupel in trouble. Now he pulls it down, and off he goes. Heupel's got a first down to the 40-yard line. An Eric Crouch-type run. 17 yards for Josh Heupel. And a wink to the sideline. Is he a cool customer or what?
He's got 2 years of college football. He played last year, threw 30 touchdown passes. Come back this year, he's not throwing as many because they're running the football more. A nice move there. Tries to get away from Polk and eventually goes down.
his 2 longest runs this year. 21, and the last one that traveled 18, and another first down, but flags fly in.
Whenever he runs, he picks up first downs. You got to hand it to Bob Stoops.
Dead ball.
40 ever.
Ball start offense. 5 yards. Replay.
So Oklahoma with Bob Stoops in only his 2nd year. We talked about what Lou Holtz has done at South Carolina. You don't see turnarounds like this very often, Dries.
You know, I have to go back 30 years to something that was very similar. We were playing with the Dolphins and losing the expansion 3 years, and Don Shula came in. And in 1970, took a team that was 4-9-1 the previous year to 10-4 his first season. And with the same players, similar to what Bob Stoops is doing here. He's got most of the same players. He's just turned this program around, and he's done it not only on the football field, but the attitude off the field. And the thing I like, he's including the family. He's including everybody. You know, he's has these family gatherings and that.
Everybody's got kids about the same age.
Got kids.
Staff.
He's had twins. Steve Spurrier Jr., who is on the staff, is going to have triplets. I don't know what these guys are water drinking out here, but
I said to Coach, I said, what, did you give everybody a break at the same time or what?
Yeah.
2nd down, 11. We'll draw a play to Griffin. Griffin inside the 25. Randy Stella makes the stop, and now the clock, the definite enemy of Nebraska.
Well, Oklahoma at the beginning of the season was ranked anywhere from, I don't know, 15 to number 30.
And now they are 4 minutes away from being on top of the heap. There's the BCS standings coming into the day. Oklahoma, without a doubt, will move to the head of the class. Virginia Tech plays Pittsburgh today. They play Miami next week. Florida State plays Clemson next week, and Florida on the 18th. It'll all shake out, but part of the shakeout is about to happen in Norman, Oklahoma. On a blitz, Griffin can't get away, and it's going to bring up a 4th down situation.
So Oklahoma, with this win, will have beaten Texas, Kansas State, and Nebraska.
Back to back to back with a week off break in between. That's about as tough a stretch as you can find. And they're going to bring out Tim Duncan to try a long field goal, which would definitely ice this thing. The problem you run here is don't get your field goal blocked and have somebody run it back the other way. That's the chance they apparently will take here. And now they're going to call timeout with 3:08 remaining. There's Mike Stoops and Brother Bob, part of the brain trust of the Sooners. 3:08 to play. Well, Applewhite, Texas, Beasley, Kansas State, and Crouch, Nebraska. They've gone X, X, and X because the X factor is number 14, Josh Heupel, who could run for governor right now.
I think he'd be lieutenant governor. I think Stoops would be the governor.
They could run on the Sooner party. Heupel throws a dart complete. Out of bounds and a first down. 3 minutes left. Bob Stoops knows now.
Mark Mangino on the sideline calling the plays. You know, it's not only the offense. They got the defense going. The special teams are good here at OU. This is a very impressive team. I don't know if there's any great teams this year, Brad. I haven't seen any great teams.
This one's pretty good.
This one is pretty good. If they keep improving this defense today, I think the only thing that some people had questions about maybe was the defense, but not after today.
And not after that smile on Torrance Marshall's face. They're throwing oranges all over the field, and they're trying to collect them.
That was the first pass in the last 10 plays. They had run 9 straight. This drive has taken over 6 minutes off of the clock, and that's exactly what OU wanted to do.
Now a first down at the 15. Under 3 minutes. See if they go back to Griffin on the ground. They will. And he gets back to the line of scrimmage. College football on ABC Sports brought to you by Chrysler. We're reinventing the passion for driving. Dr. Pepper in your local Dr. Pepper bottler. Dr. Pepper makes the world taste better. Nortel Networks. We're building the new high-performance internet. And Sonic, America's Drive-In. And there's a look at all our pumpkins. Todd Koulis did all that for both the Huskers, the Sooners, and all of us at ABC. Nice job on the jack-o'-lanterns. It is not quite Halloween, but there is going to be one serious Halloween party tonight in Norman, Oklahoma.
Amen, brother.
You won't even need a mask to have a good time tonight. Griffin for 2, and we're down to 2. What a game by the Oklahoma defense after they spotted Nebraska a couple of touchdowns. Rocky Kalmus. You saw Brian Bosworth. There they are together. We said, who's your favorite Sooner player ever? The only one he could come up with other than Spencer Tillman was the Boz. He said, I loved him. My mom wouldn't let me get a haircut like him. And they share the single game tackle record of 22 stops. And now they're on the sideline together in one of the big wins in a long time in Soonerland. Griffin stopped for a loss. I want to thank John Coral, Charlie Vanacore, our PAs, Pat McGrath, our statistician, Clint Deans, our spotter, Anthony Holman as well, our technical operations managers, Jake Gleason, Judy Weiss, our production manager, our associate directors, Fred King, associate producer, Praven Martin. Brad Sheldon's our technical director. Today's game was produced by Jay Rothman and directed by Chip Bean. Coordinating producer of ABC's College Football is Bob Goodrich. Director of production is Bob Toms. Our executive producer of ABC's College Football is John Filippelli. And the executive producer of ABC Sports is Howard Katz. Quentin Griffin on a sweep. He's close to the first down. Out of bounds just outside the 5.
He wanted to get in, too.
Did he ever?
He didn't worry about going out of bounds. He just wanted to get that end zone.
Our Chevrolet players of the game for this one. Eric Crouch over 100 yards on the ground in what will be a losing effort, and he hasn't lost many. And Josh Heupel for Oklahoma. In recognition of their efforts, Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund.
And you know, not only does this vault the Oklahoma Sooners in the #1 spot, but I think you got to look at Josh Heupel now in that Heisman race.
I agree with you 100%. Somebody said to me, he looks like Justin Timberlake, the guy that's the lead singer of NSYNC. Well, if every teenage girl in the country thinks he looks like Justin Timberlake, every male in the state of Oklahoma would carry him on their shoulders today if they had a chance. He is about the most popular guy in college football right now, unless you're a Nebraska Cornhuskers fan. Crouch to throw. Deep toss on the sideline, incomplete. Nebraska needs a first down just to try to move the sticks. Our 1st and 10 today has been presented by Pacific Life. And there's some life in this stadium today, I'll tell you that much. Almost 76,000, a record crowd, have seen it. And probably 2 million will tell you that they were here by the end of the season. Crouch out of bounds. And another orange flies in right over Eric Crouch's head.
And I think whether this game is remembered down the line like the 171 is how far this Oklahoma team goes. Absolutely. If they go on and win a national championship, they may remember this game.
This was the one they needed to erase any doubts, maybe in their minds as well as some fans around the country. And the whole country got to see it as they're about to go to 7-0 and drop Nebraska to 7-1. And another overthrow, kind of the story of the day, after Nebraska had the big lead when Oklahoma came back and matched them even at 14 and then went on to score 17 more straight. Bob Stoops just took a knee, thought about it a second, and then got dumped with ice from behind. Boy, what a job he's done.
He is. Good guy.
And you know how happy...
We like to see good things happen to good people.
That's right. How happy that staff will be today. 4th down play, the last gasp here for Nebraska. Crouch will keep it, and down he goes. Barry Holloman. And now the emotions can flow. And I don't think there's an orange in a supermarket in Norman, Oklahoma, because most of them are flying out of the stands right now.
The championship game of college football will be at the Orange Bowl in January 3rd.
And Coach Stoops got a cool shower. And now they're coming out of everywhere to try to pick up oranges. And they're also lining up behind the end zones and the sidelines is a happy Sooner group of students. The 23 seconds.
Josh Heupel just needs to take a knee, and this one will be history.
And Josh Heupel won't even be the guy that takes it. That's Jason White, the backup quarterback, who takes a knee. And Oklahoma spots #1 Nebraska 14 points. They storm back with 31 of their own, and they win it going away. They now are the #1 team in the country. It's been 13 years since they saw one this good in '87. That was a #2 Oklahoma team over #1 Nebraska. 13 years later, it's deja vu all over again.
And this is not like your ranked #4 beating a #3 team. You're #2 beating a #1, and there is no doubt.
You see the scene at midfield. A happy group of Sooners.
Boy, how long has it been since you've seen this in Norman, Oklahoma?
And as you said last night, welcome back, Oklahoma. 31-14, our final score. Stay tuned for John Saunders and Terry Bowden back in New York with a thrifty car rental postgame report from our ABC stations. For Bob Greasy and Lynn Swan, Brad Nessler from Norman.